without using linen, because linen was a strong fabric. And it's made from flaxseed, it's an organic fabric. And you can just kind of tell that it is heavier. Let me just pass that piece around. The linen, when you first start to work on linen, it's very, almost like burlap. It has a coarser texture. The supplies you need, it's very simple. You really just need a staple gun is the main thing that you need. A rubber mallet to put your stretcher bars together. It's helpful to have a little pliers. There are canvas stretching pliers, which I purchased them. They're helpful if you're really trying to pull something tight and you've got a small amount of fabric that's hard to hold. It's nice to have those and bend that fabric really tight. I don't have any of those, and you can do it without a pair of scissors and you're good to go. These are Frederick's stretcher bars, and the stretcher bars come like this. You can buy any size, pretty much the standard sizes, and they just push together like this. Somebody asked me this week if you glue them, and I would say not, because if you glue them and later on you want to try to stretch them apart a little bit, if your canvas starts to get wrinkly, you won't be able to pull them apart because they'll be glued. Push them together. You use a little rubber mallet like this and just tap them together. Just turn around and tap them together until they're completely square. So why do you think you would want to stretch your own canvas? Any ideas?
I was about to ask, why don't you just buy a canvas from the store?
Most people do. There's a couple of benefits to stretching your own canvas. You have control over the material. You can stretch lots of extra. That way you have a lot of leeway to adjust it later if you want to. The stretcher bars should have a little ridge right here. And the bigger the ridge, the better, because it lifts the canvas away from the stretcher bars. You can still tone a canvas by just pushing the canvas out like this with your fingers and rubbing your tone on or whatever, and it'll help keep you from getting that ghosting on there. Okay? You check your you check to see if you're square, and I'm not. I'm off a little bit down here, so I would hammer this side to get it square. You can also cushions and stuff for 24 years. Yeah, it'd be the same. So you're fully equipped to do this, Paula. Yeah, because you do it the same way. You alternate sides. So you kind of center it. I had the wrong staples yesterday. I had 1/2-inch staples, and you really only need 1/4-inch staples for this because they don't go in enough. And you have a nice air compressed stapler like we have out in the garage. That would really be a lot less muscle. Then you turn and you do the opposite side. 1, 2, 3. Flip it around, do the opposite side. Pull it as tight as you can. Just like sofa cushions, huh? You can do a flat corner like this where you just take it basically and stretch it this way. Put a staple in here and fold it this way and this. You can trim some of this out if you want. I don't like to trim it because if you want to restretch it, then you've got notches cut out of it. I wanted to show you a couple of different kinds of canvases too. These are the old-fashioned kind where they just stapled the edge. You don't hardly see those much anymore. You see mostly gallery wrapped like this. You can undo these if you want. Like say you did something too small, you could pull these staples off and re-stretch it. I would probably wet the back a little bit just to loosen it up because it's going to have some indentions when you pull this off, especially if you painted the edges. It's going to be kind of stiff. So you could do that. These are canvas boards that are simply, they have real canvas on them, but they're on cardboard. And a lot of people use these for practice, but I caution people about that. Even if it says it's archival, it doesn't mean it's not going to warp. And it doesn't mean that if it gets wet sometime, it's not going to be ruined or mildewed or something. So it's not a stable surface. And it's the difference between this is $2 and this is $3. So you glue this with a matte medium. Some people use
Mod Podge. Some people use Miracle Muck.
Miracle Muck.
Roger uses this stuff, tight line glue. I'm definitely get a great big thing. It's
Oh
cheap.
yeah, I remember him saying that.
Yeah,
I remember him
that's
saying
good.
that. You basically want to put it on both sides on the canvas and on the masonite and roll it with a brayer thing and then lay a real heavy book on it overnight. It will, you can see mine's starting to kind of, not really, it's lifting a little bit right there on the corner, and just because I didn't get enough glue on it. But it works if you want a canvas surface instead of the masonite. So that, what happens sometimes with your canvases is they might get loose and wrinkly a little bit. These are still pretty tight. They should be tight like a drum. I have one back in the bedroom that's really loose. I'll bring it out before we leave. And you want to tighten it up without taking it out. Two things you can do. You can spray a little hot water on the back and it'll shrink, and that will help draw it up a little bit. Or the canvas wedges. A lot of people aren't sure what these are for.
All those keys.
You take these little canvas stretchers and you put one that way and one this way, and then you hammer them in. Any idea what they're going to do when you hammer them? Yeah, you hammer it this way and it pushes this bar down. When you hammer it this way, it pushes this bar out. So what it's doing is it's pulling these two apart so that it's pulling this tighter.
I noticed that it's not electric.
It's not electric.
That's what I figured.
So it takes a while, so you see. So I've measured.
Nail on them when I get through putting them on there. And you do have to be kind of careful, or you get it on the top. You see how they just, when it's fresh, that water just takes it right off.
I wonder how much,
This is good for a really large one.
It is? Oh,
because you don't have the big long pieces, it's just a
Right.
ribbon or.
much more portable
Strap,
for my
right.
studio
So
too.
you can tighten that up.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
yeah, that's good.
Wow, that's
Oh,
Magnet on that thing.
Oh, that's
okay.
And you can set your distance.
wow.
And you put it in there like you like it.
Ah,
Oh my gosh, Mel, I didn't. I've
Simple
never seen
machines.
this.
wow.
That's awesome.
Point gun and framers
Pull that out.
points.
Twist it, and that locks the plunger.
Okay. Oh, wow. That was difficult.
It's just like,
And those come in different sizes, or are they pretty standard?
these are pretty standard.
Yeah.
Now, they make that don't mean you gotta do it.
I'll do whatever you say's best, Mel, because you've done this. What's your word for it?
Right on the edge, huh?
I use my phone
If you
to
go
guide
over
me.
a little bit, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
And you can just reach your handle.
Ah. This is, just sand it off. And I've cut it and then I end up messing up.
Just give that a little bit more.
Is
Now,
that-
since she did that, Chris, see where that cement is? Bring them.
We're gonna
I
measure.
always wondered that.
We measure about a third of the way down. Isn't that what we do, Mel?
Comes in handy because it'll hold your screw. Well, you hold this down with your, you know, this is an electrician. But I wasn't an electrician either.
Heat shrink tubing. Is it come in little pieces like that, or
No,
you
you
cut it?
cut
You
it.
cut it. Okay. Oh
That
yes.
particular one.
Okay. Gotcha.
I got that I get mine at Harbor Freight.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
This is the part
I'm not as proud of their tools now as I was.
up under the bottom.
I run it through twice.
Okay.
And then when I come back, I run it on the other side. And this is not really critical. And then I start my winding just as tight as I possibly can.
As fast or as tight?
Tight. Yeah, I don't get in a hurry.
Yeah, all right. I thought you said as fast. I was like, uh-oh,
Yeah.
I didn't.
And then I cut it off with a heat shrink tubing over it.
I don't know if that's hot or not.
So soldering, just
Gotta
a
keep
soldering
the trigger
gun?
down.
Okay.
It don't get hot till you hold the trigger down.
Oh, okay.
Just like shooting a gun.
From there now, there's 60.
We have.
We also watched a slideshow of various frame techniques, such as gluing and Mod Podging paper onto old frames, rulers, burlap, Scrabble pieces, several techniques using chalk paint and polish, and how to make your own chalk paint and polish. There were some step-by-step photos of how to use trinkets, beads, and other items on top of a plain wooden frame. Cover it with crafting foil. Then use acrylic white paint over the top. And wipe with a soft rag. Made an interesting looking ornate frame. Other techniques for painting and sprucing up old frames, which makes for interesting framing options. Wallpaper, old scrap wood, using glue to create a crackle effect, and also using model paint to repair chips and dings in your frame. Also spackling in stencils to create a different texture. For more inspirational and educational art videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel at Christine Pilkinton Studio, or visit my website at portraitcreations.com.